So we've had some customer questions about one of the door card options we have. That's the rubber walnut versus the steel rivnut. And we also have other products that come with the steel rivnut. And so we've had customers ask about the installation process of that. A lot of customers are familiar with rivnuts, but not everybody is, which is okay. So what we've got here are just a couple different rivnut tools. When you have some rivnuts to install, there are some ways to do it without a tool, but I recommend that you use a tool. Different price points, different reasons for each tool. So if we come down here, this shows you the difference between the rubber walnut and the steel rivnut. The steel rivnut has more holding power. The rubber walnuts are great because it doesn't take any type of special tool. And so with the rubber walnut, like you can see from our other installation videos, this slides into the hole, and then when you tighten the machine screw, you can see that little brass insert in there actually will pull in and mushroom the back side of this to hold it into the hole. And then when you loosen the tension off of it, it releases that lip and you can pull it back out. Downside is if you over tighten it, or you have a situation where you have a lot of pressure on it, it can pull the rubber insert out. I mean the brass insert out of the rubber. This is a steel rivnut, and so same idea, but instead of the screw crimping the backside, you need to use a special tool. It crimps the backside, and it's not a permanent fastener, but it's more permanent. You can drill out the face of it to remove them if you wanted to later, but the real secure. And so on our car here, we had the rubber walnuts in, worked great, but since it's all taken back apart again, we're gonna go ahead and insert some steel rivnuts. And so I'll show you a couple different tool options. So the first option that's going to be best for most people is just a standard rivnut tool, like something like this. This one I picked up on Amazon. I think it was 30 or 40 bucks. Has different mandrels, American and standard, for different size rivnuts. Great tool to have in your toolbox if you're working on a car, because especially if you're doing any type of modifications, you're threading the rivnut on. It actually needs to be open, but you thread that on. You would insert it into the hole, and then you would squeeze this together. You can see there. And let's try to see if we can focus. There. It mushroomed that rivnut in order to crimp it into the sheet metal. So like where my fingernail is right here, that's where it'd be crimped into the sheet metal. And so then once you've done that, you have this tool, this knob here that you can thread it back out. Because this would be pinched, so this wouldn't be able to rotate, pinched in the sheet metal. And then once that's unthreaded, this is what would be inserted into the sheet metal on your vehicle. So pretty handy, works for most applications. And I'll show you another option of a tool here in a second. So this guy here is a pneumatic option. So it's pretty slick if you're doing a decent amount of rivnuts. It's a pretty good tool to have. Again, you'd thread by hand the rivnut on, but instead of using the pliers and or the leverage of the arms and doing it by hand, you use pneumatic, crimps it, but then you still will thread here to remove the mandrel from the rivnut. So you know, these can be a couple $100, but if you're doing a decent amount of rivnuts, it's a good tool option too. Now, if you're doing lots and lots of rivnuts, this guy here is the cat's meow. And we got this one a year or so ago, and in that time, it's probably save days and days of labor. So if you're using Rivnuts a lot, this is a pretty slick tool. But it's not cheap. They're about $1,000. But one of the things that's real cool about it is that when you get the Rivnut on the tip, you don't have to actually thread it all the way down. You can just push on it, and with that pressure, it auto threads on. And then the next thing that's pretty awesome about this is that when you go to install it, it auto threads out. And so it's a significant time saver. This is unrealistic that most people would have this tool, but just thought I would show that to you. And I'll set up the camera at a different angle, and you can watch me run the Rivnuts in here and see just how cool this guy is. So if you've ever done much Rivnut installation, I think you'll appreciate this and the speed and ease in which it works. So get that, load up another one, load up another one. So this is a pretty cool tool. And again, this is not going to be what most people are going to be doing. Usually that first tool we showed you is going to be the best bet, but just because we had customers asking about the installation with these Rivnuts, we thought it'd be fun to show you this tool and how well it works. This is the one that we use on our production parts to get all the Rivnuts installed. One of those things to try to keep costs low. We try to be as efficient as possible. And a tool like this can make all the difference.